The Charlottesville Clergy Collective hosted a demonstration in downtown Charlottesville today to speak out against Trump administration policies. Through speeches, song, and prayer, the group came together to condemn the White House's Big Beautiful Bill, which would entail significant cuts to programs like Medicaid and SNAP. Organizers say the gathering was more than a protest. It was a moment of unity and connection.
Drawing on our scriptures, on our faith backgrounds, on the prayers and resources we have in our spiritual communities adds a different level to that. So it's not just protest, it's also how do we continue to feed ourselves so that we can maintain the momentum of these resistance efforts.
The Clergy Collective will host these demonstrations every Monday this month from 12:30 to 1.